with both of the men who are running for president. And they are very different people. I explained that I never thought Donald Trump would embrace my vision or continue my policies, but I did hope, for the sake of the country, that he might show some interest in taking the job seriously. But it hasn't happened.
Whoa, my name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful October the 21st, 2020. Rondo Deportes, bonjour, Big C. How's it going, you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I'm not so sure that it's really the land of the home of the brave. It seems like the land of the opposed and the land of the scared is what it is nowadays in the South, as we get all this corruption that's going on here in 2020. But once again, I want to extend a thank you to our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, doctors, first responders. They don't obstruct anything. All they do is help, Charlton.
Yeah, all they do is help, and that's why we love giving out some help. Speaking of help, today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, just tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Never stop around. Also, all around the world, just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You will hear from our sponsors. You will hear, welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing from 3,000 miles away, and I really appreciate the way things are going with Big C Sports. You can follow Big C Sports on Spotify. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. But you better have a smart TV, or you'll be sitting there looking at his chill picture. Big C, I love taking the pause. I'm glad that President Obama got off the pause and he chewed some hide today in Donald Trump's backside, Big C. And I'll never stop thanking our veterans. They really are amazing, and sometimes they just need help. I love giving out our Veterans Crisis Hotline, and they are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Big C, why is that so important to you?
Well, Charlton, we're 13 days out from the election, and 36 million Americans have already cast ballots for this next presidential campaign. Many of those that have cast ballots, Charlton, have been our veterans who have been forgotten about by this administration.
Yeah.
We lose some 24 veterans a day to this disease called suicide, as well as a host of other veterans, Charlton, that we have lost to COVID-19 and American citizens also. But we can help stem the tide of suicide amongst the veterans in America. We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, and it should be an American entity that is given out every day on every media outlet as a PSA.
Yeah.
This is a horrific pandemic that has been going on long before COVID-19, veteran suicide. We have veterans that are mentally destitute, physically destitute, homeless, Charlton, in America. Supposed to be the greatest country in the world, but it has turned its back on those who fought so gallantly to keep this country with the sovereignty that it has.
Yeah.
We give out the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton. We want every American to think in their hearts and their minds that it's a civic service that they should do.
And I take a lot of pride in giving it up. I have a father that was a veteran, a brother that's a veteran, and a nephew who's a veteran. See, they can just call the number 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, just simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net, and you can definitely get to some help. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, TV 53, home of the San Francisco Giants and the Say Hey Kid, and the home run leader, Barry Bonds. When you reach out to them, just tell them Big C sent you. Our goal is simple. Recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this country. Put their property listings on TV. Just like McDonald's does it, car dealerships and sports teams are doing it too. Watch TV and real estate work for you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. If you're looking for opportunities in real estate, simply go to bigcsports.pacwm.com. That's bigcsports.pacwm.com. I want to also make sure anywhere in the world, just if you say you're trying to find a certain program, we have a program that's operated with your voice, just like God spoke the universe into existence. Just say, Alexa or Google, play Big C Sports Podcast or Spotify, so many other apps, and you'll see the app. Just download the app, and you can hear Big C's thoughts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I really appreciate the way on with Big C Sports. Big C, you talked about some voter obstruction going on down south, or did I misunderstand what you said, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's an everyday thing when you think about it, that voters have to wait in line for several hours a day
just
to get an opportunity to vote. Something that should be the easiest thing to do in America is become the most difficult thing in America to accomplish for minority voters.
Yeah.
You know, people don't ever think that we'll have equal rights in America, and this is the reason why we don't have equal rights in America, Charlton, because of voter obstruction. Even today, down in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis asked state legislators to remove former felons off the voting polls in the state of Florida if they have not paid their fine.
Wow.
These are American citizens that you do not want to have an opportunity to vote, even though they served their time and they've been assimilated back into society. You want them to not be able to vote because they have a fine. Think about the number of people in America that have fines and tickets, Charlton, that they have not paid. And you have governors and state legislators trying to get them removed from the voting polls.
Yeah, imagine if you got a speeding ticket and couldn't pay it, you couldn't vote. It doesn't make any sense. It's all fair and level war. That's why I appreciate what President Obama said today outside of Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. You got to vote. But people, you got to get registered. This is going to be the biggest vote in history of the United States. You got to understand that. But if you're not registered, they will not let you vote. Text the word vote, pick up your phone, and text the word vote to 26797. That's 26797. Tell them if you're afraid, just tell them Big C sent you. It's so important. We got to get so many people to do that. Big C, I know a lot of people want to watch the game, and they're going through financial issues, and a lot of people don't understand how they're going to get out of it, and they're praying. POTUS is going to China. Okay? POTUS has a bank account in China. This is the same guy that has 19 white women that have filed sexual assault charges against him. Sexual assault. You know, he told them to keep people of color out of the neighborhoods to keep the property values up. But he has 19 sexual assaults, and the Me Too movement is so quiet. I haven't heard any of them. They're so quiet. Big C Sports is not quiet. They're going to have a debate on Thursday, and I wonder if they're going to talk about what's happened with Donald Trump in the White House and what he's done with women. Plus, did you know he has hidden bank accounts in China that he did not disclose on his financial statements? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's one of the many things he had not disclosed, Charlton. He had this bank account in China for 5 years prior to 2017. What was ironic, Charlton, is had little to zero cash flow in it. After 2017, it had an infusion of cash of $17.5 million.
Wow.
He took $15.1 million out of his account in cash, Charlton. Took it out in cash. You know, the thing that people need to understand, everything that Trump is ragging on about the Biden, he's actually talking about himself. In all the criminal dealings, he is stating the killings that he has been doing, trying to reflect it to the Biden. If the Bidens had done all of these things that Trump has said that they've done, they're criminal investigations a long time ago. He has the Department of Justice who has felt that there's no reason to, investigate the Bidens. The FBI has felt that there's no reason to investigate the Bidens. But all of his dirty dealings will eventually come to light.
He also wants to investigate President Obama. You know, the birds didn't stick. So now he's trying something new, as America has to understand. You got a right to vote in 13 days, like the 13th Amendment that freed slaves, Big C. He refuses to help pass a stimulus package to help American voters and workers as he's spending time flying around the country doing his COVID-19 campaign and playing golf when he gets the chance. That's why people got to get out and vote. And one thing that you said to me that I thought, well, maybe that's not true. But as time has passed, I think you're right. You said that sports would come back, and we love sports too. But you said it would be a distraction. And my heart's a little bit crestfallen when I see so many of our brethren, and all they do is have arguments about how about Cowboys and who's bigger and stronger and faster, and who's going to get fired, who's going to get a job elsewhere. And that's okay, too. But I really think, I apologize for you for thinking that people will still pay more attention to politics now that they're playing sports. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, Charlton, I mean, everyone in America wants a deflection. You know, politics, it becomes the same repetitive story every day, the same lies every day. And so people wanted sports back, to their mind off of all these things. It's just like Trump. You know, when you think about what he did a couple years ago when he took all those kids from their parents down on the border.
Where are they?
You know, there's 545 kids that Homeland Security cannot find their parents.
Wow.
545 kids that are still in detention centers that will never see their parents again. And Trump doesn't speak about that anymore. I guess they were a menace on the United States. I guess those kids were going to come in. They were drug dealers. They were gang members. They were going to move into the suburbs. They were going to rape white women. But they're still stuck in cages, Charlton.
Yeah.
And they most likely will never see their parents again.
That's a shame. And imagine if they were white. There's no way the national media would be quiet about that. I want to touch on one more thing, because it takes a person that can chew gum and talk to be a part of our program. Some guys can't when they're chewing gum, if that makes sense to you, Big C. But if you've ever wondered what happened to class in our country, I'm telling you, Big C, when I saw President Obama speak today, he had an event outside of Philadelphia, outside of Lincoln Financial Field over in Philadelphia. Imagine they had a sports backdrop, and they say sports and politics don't mix. President Obama, stumping for Biden, Joe Biden, future President Joe Biden, and VP Kamala Harris, he promised Americans to keep health care and Medicare and Medicaid. At the same time, Donald Trump is in a lawsuit to get rid of it. And President Obama said something that Big C Sports that you and I talk about. Well, we can't find any of our other sports brethren talking about this, and that's shameful. But if you don't have health care, you got to fix your own problems. They want to protect the Affordable Care Act, which was done by the executive order by President Obama, and Trump's in court trying to get rid of it. They want to help shore up the United States economy. And he says that Trump is unfit for president. And I've never heard anywhere in my political readings, Big C, where such racism and sexism was condoned by our Republican Party. And for political opponents to threaten to lock up your political opponents, Big C, thoughts?
Well, Michelle Obama said it best 3 years ago when she said you need an adult in the White House.
Yeah.
And we have not had an adult in the White House. When I think about Donald Trump, he reminds me of the kid when we used to play pickup basketball games and had the basketball.
Yeah.
And if he didn't get a chance to play, he was going to take it all and go home, even though he wasn't good enough. And that's Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, people got to get out and vote. If you don't vote, then you're the problem. Don't blame anybody but that person in the mirror. I'm so grateful that I'm able to understand what President Obama talked about today when he talked about a man that has destroyed the decency in our country. It doesn't matter whether you're Democrat or Republican. We're still all Americans, and we got to be able to come together. And I really appreciate that he's not quiet and he's out there. Notice how conspicuously absent George Bush is when it comes to standing up for Donald Trump. He refuses to support the Republican candidate that came president after his term. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he has not said anything in behalf of this president in the last 4 years, Charlton.
Yep.
Because he knew he would be embarrassment to this country.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate people that are smart. I really appreciate you, Big C. I'm telling you, I've known a lot of sports guys over the years, and I'm so embarrassed that some of our brethren, they put so much thought and energy into yelling at each other about who's right and who's wrong, and they say nothing about politics that's going to affect their lives and their children's lives because they're afraid. It's all fair and love and war. I want to congratulate last night Clayton Kershaw. Speaking of being afraid, I think all of LA exhaled, Big C. He did his thing last night. This man, he was shaky in the first inning, but he righted the ship. And I want to commend Dave Roberts, because there's times when, as a manager, you got to pitch by your gut, and you got to manage by your gut. And where everyone thought, including myself, that Kershaw would be bad for the Dodgers starting, don't let it go past 4 or 5 innings, last night he was outside of what he normally did in the playoffs, Big C. Your thoughts?
I mean, it was an outstanding outing for Clayton Kershaw last night, Dalton. It was one of the best outings that he's had in his playoff history.
Yeah.
We all know how dominant a pitcher that he has been during the regular season. And he's had his brothers in the playoffs. But last night was a different night for Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah.
He was in complete command of his entire pitching arsenal last night, Dalton. And for him to be able to go deep into the sixth inning last night and limit the Rays to just 2 hits and 1 run, Charlton, in that time was just outstanding outing. This is what you expect from your bell cow of your pitching staff.
Yeah.
And Clayton Kershaw delivered last night.
Yeah, he delivered last night. Do you think, Big C, that maybe Roberts is smarter than all of us? He kept him out of the game that we were saying keep him out when they were trying to close out against Atlanta. But Kershaw comes in, having the chance to refocus, and he also had several extra days of rest, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, sometimes it becomes more mental than mechanical with these pitchers, you know. And, you know, when you have teams that you're tipping your pitches off to, one of the things about playing teams on a regular basis is that they get a book on you.
Yep.
And that's what has happened to Kershaw. But, you know, you also got to look at this year. He has not pitched as many games this year as he would in a regular season with the amended season. He only pitched about a quarter of the games that he would normally pitch. So his arm is a lot more durable right now than it has been seasons past.
Yeah, I really appreciate what Roberts is doing. He's replacing actually the great, you know, Tommy Lasorda as one of the managers in LA that's really done a lot in the playoffs that hasn't been done before. So really appreciate what the Dodgers did. You sports fans, we have a game that's starting tonight. In fact, it's already underway. We don't give out scores about what's going on in the world of baseball. But I think we're going to see, I don't think we're going to see a 4-game sweep. We have tonight the Dodgers, their rookie Tony Gonsolin to the mound, and Tampa Bay is going to come back with Blake Snell, Big C. So you know it's going to be a pitching duel. Blake Snell's a left-hander southpaw, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Blake Snell was the 2018 Cy Young Award winner, Charlton. So
he's good.
He's a very capable pitcher. You know, last night when you look at the Rays, they didn't have a lefties in the lineup. And that may have faltered, you know, what they wanted to do. You want to counter the pitcher that's on the mound.
Yeah.
And so by not putting in those lefties to make Kershaw work a little harder may have hurt them overall.
Yeah, it may have hurt them overall, but we'll see. It's about managers and how managers call the game. So I wish that everybody has a great time watching this. For you sports fans watching the World Series, if you get a chance, there's a lot of hamburgers out there. Make sure you order the Big C Burger. It's really a tasty burger. It tastes very good. You get exotic meats on your burger. You only get it at participating restaurants. And there's some thoughts and some old talk. I heard some old folks talking. They say in the Old Testament, even Jesus Christ had the Big C Burger. He was doing his thing back in the day. So please go out and enjoy the Big C Burger when you get a chance. Big C, I want to get your thoughts on some things. Because looking at the 2020 World Series, there's a guy by the name of Austin Meadows. He's the leadoff as a designated hitter for Tampa. He's a first baseman. And then you have Ji-Man Choi, who is the cleanup spot for the Rays in the Game 2 of the World Series against the Dodgers tonight. With rookie right-hander Tony Gonsolin on the mound for the Dodgers on Wednesday night, Big C. The left-handed hitters that they're going to face in the lineup after not starting the series opener against lefty Clayton Kershaw, it may change a few things. The Rays have had 5 left-handers batting in order, and left-hander Blake Snell, the 2008 Cy Young Award winner, is starting for the round. You think it's going to backfire on them tonight, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, no, Charlton, you have to counter what your opponent does. And when they're coming with a righty, you want to put some lefties in the lineup. What the Rays are looking to accomplish tonight, it makes it a little more difficult. You can see the ball a little better.
Yeah.
You know, this may be their night. They need this win desperately.
They need it desperately. And ironically, for both of these great franchises, especially the Dodgers having so many championships appearances over the years and NL championships, Big C, I think about Clayton Kershaw, and because I know he's been much maligned, and anyone can like you when you're on top, but sometimes things are going against you. It kind of tests who you are. I think the Dallas Cowboys are finding that out now with Jerry Jones, and he's a billionaire, but they can't seem to win. But going back to baseball, Clayton Kershaw can pitch just fine in October. So thank you very much for his performance. I'm sure a lot of people from LA are very happy about that. Game 1 was amazing on Tuesday. The Dodgers are within 3 wins of their first championship. Would you believe, Big C, 32 years? Your thoughts?
Well, they have to get done, Charlton. You've been saying 4 out of the last 5 years that they're going to win. Until they close it out and win 4 games, they'll just keep chasing.
Do you think it's more pressure on the Dodgers? They won 4 in a row since being down 3 games to 1 to Atlanta. Now they come back and they got the first game from Tampa. It's hard to have a streak where you win 5 in a row in any series, Big C. Your thoughts?
Yeah, but the Dodgers have been in this situation, Charlton, 4 out of the last 5 years that they've been in the World Series, and they have not hosted the crown yet.
Yeah, it's always a pitch-by-pitch inning, and I love seeing what happens on that on the mound. Kershaw, I got to give him his credit. He deserves the Big C burger, Big C. He went through Tampa Bay's lineup, retiring 17 of the final 18 batters that he faced in the Dodgers to an 8-3 victory in Game 1 of the 116th World Series. Over 6 innings, he allowed just 2 hits, 1 walk, and 1 run while striking out 8. So he even had a better appearance than he thought he was going to have, too, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, this is what you pitch for this time of the year. Everybody who goes out there and plays in the World Series never thinks that they're going to bat out.
Yep.
You always got to have a winning pitcher regardless.
Yep.
Clayton Kershaw has had his, but last night was not one of them.
Not one of them. You and I had our own little sportsmanship earlier in the year before COVID showed up, and all the guys were signing, it seems like $400 million contracts and $300 million contracts. And I know you were saying that you think Mike Trout's the best player in baseball, and I said I think it's Mookie Betts, Big C. The 2020 World Series that Mike Trout is at home watching, he may have a pacifier in his hand, but he's watching it. Mookie Betts, Boston, do they know what they had? It doesn't make any sense they let him go. But Mookie Betts, he had a walk inside. He had in the base stealing the same inning last night, Big C. He became only the 2nd player in World Series history to accomplish that feat in the same inning, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, he's the only 2nd player in World Series history to accomplish that feat, Charlton. And he's only the 2nd player to do it. He's one of the 2 players that came from the Boston Red Sox to do that. Betts was traded by the Boston Red Sox to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yep.
Babe Ruth was traded by the Boston Red Sox to the New York Yankees. And those 2 individuals are the only players in World Series history to have a walk and a steal in the same inning in the World Series.
Isn't that amazing? So when you in Boston, you can't wait to get to Los Angeles, Big C? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, New York also is in your history. When you think about the number of World Series that the Yankees won, led by Babe Ruth, the Dodgers are hoping for the same thing with Mookie Betts.
If we look back in time, because Babe Ruth was doing his thing when we didn't have the Sports Center and the chance to go home and watch things on television. So as players get further and further from their last day at the plate, Big C, they become more of a legend. They become bigger and stronger and faster, and they become the Hall of Fames that they are. If you were to look at Mookie Betts, and you looked at what Babe Ruth was doing back in the day, and we can see based on television, I think Mookie Betts is one of the most complete, well-rounded players. In the outfield, he can play right field, he can play center field. This guy can run the bases. He reminds me of Ricky Henderson running the bases, Big C, where he can steal bases, and it doesn't seem to matter if it's first going to second or second going to third, but I even saw him almost steal home plate, and I really called it a steal because it was a ground ball in the throw. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he's a throwback player, Charlton, to the players of the 70s and 80s, the way that he plays baseball. He's an all-out player. It's not about the razzle-dazzle. He reminds you of those players who played during that era. I think about a guy the way he runs the bases like a Lou Brock.
Yeah.
With the power that he has. He's similar to a Roberto Clemente and a Frank Robinson. The way that he plays the game in the outfield.
Yeah.
But, he's something of an anathema now in Major League Baseball. He's a guy who goes out there and he plays every inning. And he came into the Dodgers and he became an instant leader.
Yeah.
He walked into that clubhouse. He had championship pedigree. And he said, hey, I'll take you guys as far as you want to go.
Isn't it something ironic how guys are big and strong? Like Aaron Judge, he's about 6'7" or so, and then he's for the Yankees. We talk about Aroldis Chapman, how big and strong he is. I remember guys like Mark McGwire and Barry Bonds, and these guys were all talked about because of their physical stature. You think about Jose Altuve for the Houston Astros when he was doing his thing in the World Series, also against the Dodgers, and now you think about Mookie Betts. are they dispelling the myth that you got to be 6'4", 6'5", and 230 pounds? Because he's not a big man, but he's very fast, and he can play every angle in the outfield or at the plate. Big C, your thoughts?
Baseball has always had diminutive stature players, Charlton, that have been great players throughout the history. The late Joe Morgan, who just passed a week or so ago, he was only 5'7". I mean, there's been dozens of superstar baseball players. I remember the Dodgers back in the 80s when they had an infield and nobody was over 6 feet tall. The guy in the infield was like 5'10", 5'11". That was Steve Garvey.
Yeah.
But you had Lopes and Lopez and Russell. Russell was the biggest at shortstop, the biggest player they had in the infield.
Yeah.
But, baseball is not a game where you have to be 6'5". You can be 5'7" as long as you know how to swing the bat and move around the diamond.
When you think about whether I think Mookie Betts is going to be the MVP of the series, of course, if they win, I definitely think you could call him MVP of the regular season. I know an abbreviated season. Have you recalled any time? I mean, I saw Barry Bonds do his thing in the World Series, but never got them over the hump. Of course, Reggie Jackson, I saw a person the way Reggie Jackson did in the World Series, especially when he was playing, doing his thing for the A's and also the Yankees, Big C. Would you put Mookie Betts in that class with those performers, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it's early. It's only one game. You got to look at what Max Muncy did last for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Max Muncy had 2 hits. He had two RBIs.
Yeah.
And he also scored 2 runs. So when you talk about leadership, it's across the board in Los Angeles. Mookie Betts did not even outperform his teammate Max Muncy.
Yeah. Well, I think about overall on the outfield, he's the real still there. Mookie Betts at third. Think about it. The Rays, their infield's drawn in with Mookie Betts at third and scored on the ground ball into the first. And then Cody Bellinger, he had a dislocated right shoulder on Sunday night, and he homered anyway. And then Clayton Kershaw just really did his thing. I can't wait to see what's happening in tonight's game. Baseball is fantastic, especially when you know it's going away. I hope that we get at least 6 games, but I don't know if we can go that far in this series. The Dodgers look very good. We'll see what happens as we go further. Big C, I wanna before we get up on the Big C pause, I'm out here in California. We talked about how, I'm serious, but voter obstruction, when you hear it out here, it's like reading a book. Because it really doesn't happen in California. It happens in more clandestine ways. But when I hear down in Texas and down in Georgia and down in Florida, where they're taking out ballot boxes, they're talking about going to courts where courts will have to tell the Republican Party that you cannot stop counting the vote if it's been cast before November the 3rd, that you can still count it up to 3 days later as they're trying to get the mail sorted out. I don't know how you guys deal with it, but you got to keep forward. Like Jesse Jackson said, keep hope alive, keep going forward. How do you keep your mind right when you know the simple thing like voting is always opposed like in a sporting event, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, the biggest thing is, Charlton, is that you can't wait until November 3rd.
Yeah.
You see the lines now. Why would you be stupid enough to sit around and wait November 3rd knowing that those lines will exist? Go and vote early.
Yeah.
I mailed in my ballot weeks ago. Not even concerned. I tracked it. It was delivered.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do for anybody.
Yeah.
But if you want to wait around to November 3rd to be archaic about that, Charlton, then you're the one that's going to lose out, because there's going to be things that happen on November 3rd that will obstruct everybody.
Yeah.
So go vote early. Mail in a ballot. Do whatever but don't sit around and wait on November 3rd.
Yeah, and before we get on the Big C pause, I really do appreciate President Obama. It's so great when you see class. When he came out to give his speech tonight in Philadelphia, he walked out with a mask that said vote. And after he finished doing his speech, Big C, and they're socially distanced, like a drive-in movie theater set up, then he put his mask on again. You know it said vote? It was a mask over his face that Donald Trump refused to tell the American people to do, and we're up to over 220,000 fatalities due to COVID because Donald Trump lied. We won't lie to you on Big C Sports. That's why we say Google everything. We'll take the Big C pause, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the #1 podcast network in the universe, iHeartRadio podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. There's so many apps that you can follow Big C Sports on, and I really appreciate the way things are growing with Big C Sports. I got to tell you, I heard some friends of mine, and they were in media here in San Francisco, Big C, and they were saying, they were doing some polls on where the sports viewership is up. Well, how could it be up with COVID-19 and people are worried about their health? They're not going out to bars. They're not bringing a lot of people over to their households. People have lost their jobs. There's been thousands of businesses that have been lost because Donald Trump lied. But would you believe the criticism you and I took when we had a political platform with sports? Because real. If you think about sports viewership being down, you know what's up, Big C? Political viewership. A lot of these political shows, they're bringing on athletes to talk about what they're doing in sports. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, everybody is looking for an alternative right now. And when people bring in athletes, they don't want to talk about what's actually occurring.
Yeah.
Viewership, it's a suggestive thing right now because people have so many other things that are more important than to watch a game, to sit down at night when they're worrying about whether they're going to be able to pay a bill, if they're going to be able to keep a roof over their head.
Yeah.
We're in times of in the U.S. Sports is not the most important thing, even though society wanted you to think that it was.
Yeah, it's not. That's why you got to be well-rounded. We tell kids when you go to school, don't just read the sports page and don't just do PE. Take some math, history, and literature, and do some law, whatever it takes to be well-rounded. See, California sports, we talked about it briefly yesterday, but California Governor Gavin Newsom, he will allow sports fans to attend outdoor professional sporting events in areas that are less at risk for COVID-19. Santa Clara County in the Bay Area, where the 49ers play, they said no sports fans because they want to make sure they're more precautious. And unfortunately, if you're copying what they're doing down in Florida where it's spiking, I don't agree with that, but I'm not a scientist. But give me your feeling on one county that has a pro sports team said no. And other counties that don't have sports teams are saying, sure, we'll open Big C.
Charles, I mean, it comes down to individualism now. I mean, to sit up and try to figure out what's going to happen next with COVID-19. If a person wants to go out and infect other people, you're not going to be able to stop them. I mean, we got people going to grocery stores, restaurants, department stores, everything that you can think about. I'm trying to understand the difference between those and a sporting event.
Yeah, that's very true, Big C. And we just got to do our best to social distance and wear a mask and hopefully keep ourselves as safe as humanly possible. Speaking of sporting events, I want to congratulate one of your friends. He's actually grew up in the Bay Area. He and his brother, Stan Van Gundy, he's agreed to become the next head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans. And he confirmed that today. Van Gundy, the former Miami Heat, Orlando Magic head coach. In fact, he took the Orlando Magic to the finals where they lost to the LA Lakers. He had a thing where he and Dwight Howard did not get along, and he was saying Dwight Howard's trying to get him fired. It is all fair in love and war. And then most recently, Detroit Pistons head coach. He becomes the 7th coach in Pelicans' short history. Big C, your thoughts?
And I'm not so sure that that's a good job for any coach because the expectations from media and the fans is that this team is going to win and win right away because they have Zion Williams. That's not enough to win in the NBA. You have to have a roster with some superstars in it. They're going to be basically competing in the West.
Yeah.
This is an uphill battle for him. I give him roughly 3 years max in New Orleans.
Yeah, he must make more money coaching than a lot of times. A lot of guys going in and out of TV and coaching. But I wish him nothing but the best, and hopefully he'll have some success. But he's in a tough conference in the Western Conference in the NBA. There's even some talk that Derrick Rose may be talking about becoming an LA Lakers. Would you think that would be a good fit if he still has a lot of talent? He's a former MVP player. He's done a great deal for the Chicago Bulls. Sometimes injury prone, but if he's healthy, I think he can come in and give them some valuable minutes. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, he could be a player that they could plug in. Charles, there's talk that Rajon Rondo is going to opt out of his contract, so they could potentially slide Derrick Rose into that position.
Yeah, I would hope that Rondo would stay there. Sometimes you just got to give him the Big C burger. Big C, they got to go. Genie Bus, give Rondo the Big C burger. It's an exotic burger. It has exotic meats, and maybe that will keep him staying in Los Angeles. Hopefully they'll do that and keep him there. I really like the way the Lakers were playing, especially in our abbreviated season. I want to ask you a question about some college football. I've always been told, having the many media passes that I've had and had access to the field, Big C, you kind of take things into your own risk. If you get run over by an athlete or sometimes you get run over by a cow or a bull or even a bulldog, Big C. College football. A photographer is suing the owners and handlers of the Texas Life mascots for negligence, saying that he suffered permanent neck and back injuries when the Longhorn steer, that big old, I think it's about 1,500 pounds, it charged out of his pen and plowed into several people at the 2019 Sugar Bowl. You know what's funny about that? It was I think they seen that same steer. They were playing, I believe they were playing Georgia at one time. The dog was smart enough to get out of the way, so I don't know why people can't get out of the way, if that makes sense. Your thoughts?
Well, that was in the Sugar Bowl when he went after the dog. It was Tebow who was going after Uga in the Sugar Bowl, and everybody saw it on television.
Yeah.
But I think this is a stretch.
Yeah.
That this photographer is asking for damages for lifelong injuries from this bull. I don't think he was gored at anything.
No.
I think that the owners of the bull, they offered up the bull as a settlement.
No, don't eat the bull. That's the mascot. Then what would they do? But I always think, if just like people that want courtside seat, whenever players dive at a basketball in a basketball arena, they're going to hit the people that pay the most money to see them and get the most bet. But I don't think any person sitting courtside has ever sued an NBA basketball player, and I don't know why someone would be able to sue a school because they were injured by the mascot. I'm sure they had to sign some type of waiver, but it's all fair and love and work, Big C. I want to look at some college football since we are talking college football. It's amazing that a bull or a steer can get into a game, but they make people pay. That makes sense to you, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, he's paying. A lot of his family members are being handed out down the aisles with hot dogs and hamburgers.
Yeah, that's true, too. Don't want to see your loved ones being served around for hot dogs and hamburgers at a football game. I'll do something a little bit different, kind of like Donald Trump does. You just go opposite of what makes sense. I'm going to start with college football rankings. I'm going to do Big C's bottom 10 rankings because you don't want to forget people at the bottom. They're just trying to get to the top, if that makes sense to you, Big C. I'm going number 10 on Big C's top 10 bottom college football rankings is the Duke Blue Devils. They're only 1-5. This is a team that had some success last year, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, maybe they need to talk to Coach Krzyzewski and see if he wants to come out and give an inspirational speech to their football team.
Yeah.
Academics and athletics don't always mix.
No, they don't always. And you definitely don't get the Big C burger when you're coming in last on the bottom of Big C's bottom top 10 rankings. That's an oxymoron, but it makes sense if you say what we're saying. Big C's bottom top 10, the college football rankings. Number 9 would be the Southern Mississippi. They're only 1-3 on the season. Your thoughts?
And you think about this team lost its head coach prior to the start of the season. He said he was leaving for COVID-19 reasons. I think he saw the lack of talent.
Yeah.
And you can see that with the 1-3 start.
Yeah, 1-3 starts, and those kids get no money, but they really wanted to play. How about a bargain, Big C? It's all fair and love and war. Big C's top bottom 10 college football coming in at number 8. Them Syracuse Orangemen are only 1-4. You're out of a big state in New York. You would think they would be loaded with talent, Big C. Why are they coming in at number 8, just 1-4 on the season? Your thoughts?
Well, this is a team 2 years ago under Dino Favors everybody thought was turning the corner in the ACC.
Yeah.
They ended up 8-4 on the season, Charlton, and now they already have losses after just 5 games 2 years later.
Yeah, so much we can't wait to get football back. They don't have any more Donovan McNabbs running around throwing the football around for the Orange. Big C's bottom 10 in college football. If you bring it in to a state that has a lot of talent, there's no reason for them not to be successful. That's South Florida. The Bulls are coming in at 1-4 on the season, Big C. Your thoughts?
And they've been playing like a lot of bull for the past couple of years.
Bullshit.
About the talent down in Florida.
Yeah.
It seems to be skipping around that university.
Yeah, a lot of bullshitties going on down in Florida with the vote and also with the South Florida football teams, all fair and 11-4. Sometimes you don't want to get in the middle of two guys arguing about something. So coming in at Big C's bottom top 10 will be Middle Tennessee, and they are 1-5 on the season. Your thoughts?
Well, as you said, Charlton, Tennessee, that whole state has been a little topsy-turvy when it comes to football over the past couple of years. And, I think this is anathema to all these teams talking about it and broadcasters. We got to get football back. We got to get sports back. And these kids are sitting there, they're facing COVID-19 and also seasons where they're getting drugged through the mud.
Yeah, and they know that a lot of programs have gotten sick. So how you tell an 18, 19, 20, maybe 1-year-old college football player, don't worry about 220,000 people that have passed away from having bodily fluids or pathogens through the air, and you're out here trying to tackle somebody who's 6 feet, 230 pounds, and don't worry about it. I'm sure psychologically, the way we go with that hotline, a lot of these college kids, they think they have nowhere else to turn. So they're not going to be as focused, and I think we're seeing that in some schools. Number 5 in Big C's bottom top 10 would be Florida International University. They're 0-2 on the season, Big C. Your thoughts?
It's amazing how much people sing the praise of the big boys down in Florida, University of Florida State. You know, those schools, Charleston,
Miami,
Central Florida.
Yeah.
But you got 2 schools in Florida in the bottom 10 that are not recognized by the rest of the state football echelon.
Yeah, I hear they have smaller paper bags for those schools, Big C, if that makes sense to you. It's all fair level war. Big C's number 4 at the bottom 10 schools in the country of football. You know, there's a lot of things you can do in Kentucky, but hanging around Mitch McConnell for much longer won't be one of them. He's going to be kicked out of office, too. Western Kentucky comes in at 1-4 on the season. Big C, your thoughts?
There's tough times in Kentucky in politics and in sport. Everybody be waiting on your buddy John Calipari to get out on the basketball court.
yeah, he won't worry. They do nothing wrong on the Calipari. That makes it a fair level war. Coming in at Big C's top 10, bottom 10 rankings, you have ULM. They're 0-5 on the season. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Louisiana Monroe, Charleston, is sort of, riding on the coattails of LSU right now.
Yeah.
LSU didn't yet get off to the start that they wanted to get off to after winning a national championship. Louisiana Monroe is following suit, Charleston.
They're following suit, Big C, and I hear oftentimes when you follow suit, they keep falling right on town, if that makes sense to you. It's all fair and level war. You know, something about the Wizard of Oz. They had a great show called The Wizard of Oz, and Dorothy, of all places, ended up in Kansas. Whoever known that Dorothy in Kansas will be 0-4, Big C's number 2 seed in the top 10 bottom rankings. That makes sense to you?
Well, Charleston, Les Miles is finding the yellow brick road unless it's one of those different ones outside the bar at night. He lost 2 weeks ago to COVID. He had to sit out.
Yeah.
This past week, he lost his best player in Cooper Williams. They may not win a game all year.
Yeah, you remind me one time I took my kids to the snow, and my son said he had to use the bathroom. I said, okay, but let's go find one. He was already making his own yellow brick road, Big C. If that makes sense to you, sometimes you don't have to wait in line like a lot of those do. Number 1 in the country at Big C's bottom 10 top rankings college football, Vanderbilt University. They're 0-3 on the season, Big C. Your thoughts?
You think about the high academic standards of this university, Charleston, and that's something that those players can find solace with.
Yep.
Is that they're geniuses in the classroom.
They are in the classroom, but didn't they win the national championship or play for it in baseball just a couple of years ago? I think they won or they played Michigan. I'm not really sure about that, but they do have a pretty good baseball team. Just football hasn't been able to climb the mountain as well. But that is Big C's bottom top 10 college football programs, and you don't get the Big C burger, but you do get mentioned on the Big C Sports Show. I want to jump to the NFL with the Las Vegas Raiders preparing to tackle. Think about this. Right tackle Trent Brown, he's on the reserve COVID-19 list. The team sent home all 5 of his starting offensive linemen on Wednesday due to contact tracing, Coach John Gruden said. But this is the same Raider franchise. I think John Gruden also got fined for not wearing a mask. Now his linemen are at home. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they've had some problems in Vegas with the team. Charleston, to play earlier this season, went to a social outing and they didn't social distance or wearing masks. John Gruden has been fined. Now Trent Brown, who has missed the first 2 games of the season, is back over at reserve.
Yeah.
And your whole offensive line is at home. The Raiders could be in some trouble this week if these players don't pass COVID protocol.
Yeah, and they had that lucky win over the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought the Chiefs were just overlooking them. But when you have coaches that don't follow protocol and players that don't follow protocol, no one's saying that that's the reason, but it is part of a reason, and that's why everyone in the White House. Could you imagine? I heard President Obama speak today in Philadelphia, and the last time President Obama was in power, they could invite children to the White House. They can invite schools, other members of the media, politicians to the White House. isn't it ironic that 4 years after the black man moves out, they move a white guy in there, and the place is contained, nobody can go in now? Big thoughts.
Well, Michelle Obama, so politely called it the people's house.
Yeah.
They invited America in as often as they could. If you look at this presidency administration, the public is not invited to the White House. The public knows what goes on in the White House.
Yeah. It's amazing how sometimes the universe will expose what you do in the dark, in the daytime, and we can't go into the White House. Isn't that something? And there's a person to blame. And he's orange. It's all fair in love and war. Big C, NFL, New Orleans Saints, Mike Thomas can return after discipline. And this, if healthy, Michael Thomas' discipline lasted only one game, according to the New Orleans Saints coach Sean Payton, who's also a bounty guy. So how can he get anybody to discipline? He's part of bounty gate. That's just funny. It's an oxymoron, in my opinion. As long as he's healthy, this star receiver is eligible to return Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. Big C, your thoughts?
And they really need him in the lineup. He got into a physical altercation prior to the last game, so suspended by the organization.
Yep.
So, he's cleared that situation up, and they desperately need him. Drew needs another outlet to get his balls off, too.
Yep, I'm telling you, Big C, but isn't it not funny, but ironic, how Peyton he had to spend a whole year away from the team because of bounty gate. And now the players that get disciplined by a guy that's suspended for the whole year, that makes sense to you?
Well, you have to have leadership within an organization,
Yeah.
regardless of the head coaching situation.
Yeah.
You have to lay down protocol for all your players, and you have to follow that. So disciplinary actions will come. Because if you don't do that, then you lose control of your team.
Yeah, maybe he was just doing what coach told him to do to other players and other teams, but maybe sometimes you forget to back against your own teammates. NFL news. I feel, my goodness, Jerry Jones, he's a billionaire, and money can't buy you love. That's not true. I know a lot of people with money. They didn't do it for love. But it's all fair love and war. The Cowboys season, it's a spiral, Big C. An unnamed Dallas Cowboy calls out new coaching staff. Mike McCarthy says he didn't coach very well and the Cowboys lost Monday. The players reportedly agree with Mike McCarthy in the charge. The Cowboys' 2020 season is imploding, but it comes as no surprise. He was sitting on the couch eating Big C burgers, and then Jerry Jones gave him a job. He hadn't worked out. He hadn't coached a team. He knew not what he was doing, but he got the white skin privilege, and he took the money, Big C. So how can they blame him for taking the money, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you take free money when they give it to you, but Mike McCarthy is in over his head. He didn't know how to handle, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, was a lot like Aaron Rodgers when he was young.
Yeah.
A quarterback that had much ability, that was not the type of quarterback that McCarthy was accustomed to having when he had Brett Favre in the backfield. He doesn't know how to coach Ezekiel Elliott. And, he's in love with Mike Nolan, his defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And Mike Nolan has been out of football for some time, and he's lost the edge on how to coach people on defense. He hasn't taught anybody on the Dallas team how to tackle anybody yet. So, this thing is not going to get – when you think about the NFC East as a whole,
yeah,
the team that wins this division, Charlton, will not win more than 7 games. You think about that. You have an NFL division, a team will not win more than 7 games and win the division. They'll be 6 wins or 7 wins to win the NFC East this year.
Okay, let me backtrack, because it's easy to look at somebody when they're down. And Mike McCarthy, obviously, he took the job because Jerry wrote him a check. Plus, he's white, so Jones felt comfortable with the white guy stealing from him in broad daylight. If Jerry Jones is honest, he knows that he's got some bad decision-making. There's so many college coaches and NFL offensive coordinators, assistants, that could look at a guy like Dak Prescott, Eric Bieniemy, and say, my goodness, what can I do with a guy like that and those receivers that we have? And they could put together a winning program and then bring a guy in the defense that hasn't always been at the abyss when he's had a defensive job. But Jerry Jones, for some reason, he was looking for a yes man, as some people say. I don't know Jerry Jones. But how long do you go into a wallet when it's leaking money, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you don't miss your water until your well runs dry. I mean, all those people that were critical of Jason Garrett, who is now the offensive coordinator of the Giants.
Yeah, that won't say much.
You don't have to look at Mike McCarthy and say, really, was this a good decision?
No, it wasn't. I still think down there at Oklahoma, where they throw the ball very well, I'm not just pushing for Lincoln Riley because he hasn't won a national championship at Oklahoma, but he has had the Sooners. But even Barry Switzer's had the Sooners winning national championships. So I'm not going to say.
But you got to understand, for coaches to leave college, you got to give them a 5 to 6 year guarantee of $10 million a year. That's what you got to give them, because they coach these college kids and they have 12-game seasons, and they don't have the worry about an owner looking over their shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
All they got to do is get to double-digit wins, and they never have to worry about their position. But they come into the NFL where there's so many different tangibles that they have to deal with that they don't have to deal with college. They don't have to deal with salary cap. They don't have to I don't want you in my program, you're gone.
Yeah.
That's what they deal with in college. But you come to the pros and you're dealing with salary cap. You can't trade players. You can't players. College coaches are known for that when they're making more money in college than what they would in the NFL and have more security.
Yeah. Well, I don't think McCarthy's going to be there next year. Jerry Jones can tear up that contract the way he's torn up a lot of oil contracts that he did not like. That's just my opinion. Also, when you think about your favorite team in the NFL, Big C, maybe not favorite team, but the New York Jets make another trade by shipping linebacker Jordan Wills to the 49ers in a draft pick swap. The Jets, they're going to receive a 2022 6th-round pick in exchange for Willis, and will also be sending out a 2021 7th-rounder to the Bay Area. Do you agree with that? See your thoughts?
I mean, this is what Adam Gase is doing. He is cleaning house in New York. He is trying to make sure that there's nobody left on that roster that did not like him.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, the Jets may not have anybody left at the end of the year.
Yeah. Hey, I think Joe Namath can still throw the ball. He might do it better than Sam Darnold. Because Joe Namath, when he was finishing up playing with the New York Jets, guys would not want to hit him because his knees were so bad. Maybe they can bring him back in and help their offense play better. Guys don't want to hit Namath. But it's all fair and level war. The Jets will turn things around when they realize what the problem is, Big C. Also, 7 months after signing to a 3-year extension, $15 million extension, the Buffalo Bills, they parted ways with former starting left guard Quentin Spain, releasing the 6-year veteran on Wednesday. The team announced that, Big C. Now, Bills have struggled up front on both sides. Why are they getting rid of the guy that they thought could be an answer for them?
Well, he and Josh Allen may have gotten into a tiff. I mean, if you got a franchise quarterback and you got an offensive lineman that has words with him, you're more likely to part with the offensive lineman, which I think is what happened with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to work with people that you don't get along with, as long as people can help the team. But I know they're going to make up whatever decision they got to make going forward. I want to kind of mix some NFL with some college right now, because sometimes people think I'm lying about a paperback test, but I'm not. There's a source that said LSU football, isn't that down the SEC, the conference that you love so much? That makes sense to you, Big C. LSU football, they're losing 8 scholarships, and they're banning Odell Beckham Jr. for 2 years over improper payments. Now, Big C, let's be real. There's no major college football program in the country that's not doing something improper. Why are they picking on Odell Beckham, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Odell Beckham was being stupid, Charles, during last year's national championship game with LSU, where he was there in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Georgia, passing out $100 bills to players, Charlton, and doing it on camera. He was out there making, a mockery of himself to draw attention to himself, but yet he hurt the former program that he played for.
Yeah.
Players are not going to turn down the money. You could have gave these players the money off camera, but you made sure that you gave it to them on camera, which is a NCAA violation.
Yeah.
So I don't feel sorry for LSU, and I definitely don't feel sorry for Odell Beckham for being stupid.
Yeah. So I like what you just said, but, we say fact check everything we say. And you just told Odell and a lot of those other athletes that are giving out paperback lunches, I call them paperback lunches, you're going to do it, but just don't do it in broad daylight. To your thoughts?
Well, broad daylight, no, he did it at night, Charlton, under the light.
Yeah.
I mean, and he did it to draw attention to himself. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing was improper. But that was all about Odell Beckham. It wasn't about the players getting the money. It was all about that, hey, I got a $100 million contract. I got several $1,000s, and it's no big deal. But I'm getting the notoriety on my Instagram account.
Yeah, but let's be honest, too, because the judge and the jury is the NCAA. It's an antitrust violation not to pay athletes. And we know whether it's in the dark or in the light. I still feel it gives me a little bit of heartburn when the NCAA that's committing antitrust violations, stealing money from athletes, that they can punish a player for doing something that is also illegal. They didn't do it to every single NCAA. Big C, your thoughts?
No, but Charlton, he did it to LSU. So why not go to the players that were standing along the sideline that were not in the game, that most likely needed the money more than the players that were going to be drafted?
Yeah.
But he made a beeline to the star players on the roster and started passing out. Joe Burrow was one of them. Clyde Zeller was one of them. Justin Jefferson, another one.
Yeah.
He's passing out money to the star players, Charlton, that are going to get huge NFL contracts and become instant millionaires, instead of passing it out to the players on the sideline that are keeping the bench warm.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham was stupid and egregious in his act because he did it in selfishness, all about himself, not caring about the players, because the money that he gave to scratch to the players was nothing. It meant nothing because he could toss it out like he was tossing out a cigarette wrapper.
Yeah.
That's all it was to him.
Yeah.
But it was about bringing attention to him, and he hurt his alma mater.
Yeah, he hurt his alma mater, but he was doing what a lot of guys do. Just got to do it in the dark. Whatever you do it in the dark. Is that the lesson learned, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, no, it's not the lesson learned, Charlton. I mean, this has been going on throughout the history of college football. It went on when I was playing college football.
Yep.
But I never had anybody pass money to me or any of the other athletes on campus walking up to you in broad daylight, passing it out. It was a 3 or 4 stage step to go retrieve the money. It was like, playing the game Clue, where you had to find these, different things to know where the money was. You had to go to this person, that person, and that.
Yeah.
Like I said, this was a selfish act by Odell Beckham, an act of stupidity.
Yeah, he should have followed Donald Trump to China. You know where the China virus, that he called the China virus? The China virus country gave him several $1 million that he did not disclose. Does that make sense? Did Donald Trump do it right?
Well, like I said, you can be stupid, and Donald Trump was stupid in it. He got $17 million out of China, from the Chinese businessmen and stuff he's been working with. That's why he's always talking about his stuff on China.
Yeah.
But Odell Beckham was just blatantly stupid. There's no explanation for him.
Yeah, it's all fair in 11 war. I know I really appreciate people who want to pay attention to democracy, and you got to go out and vote. Don't lose hope. Jesse Jackson had a great slogan back in the day that keep hope alive. Keep hope alive, and you got to keep hope alive. You got to register to vote. President Obama told us that. Text the word vote to 26797. That's vote to 26797. Tell all your friends that Big C in the NFL said that you make sure you go out and do it. Big C, there's a program, I think his name is Charlemagne the God. He was doing something with P. Diddy, and I'm going to read more into it. He was on CNN last night, and it's talking about how black voters have an action plan that President Biden needs to follow to get the black vote. But we got to get Trump out of the White House. He's an embarrassment to this country, and I think even white Americans have realized that. Even the white ones that keep voting for him, how do they feel now this president won't pass a stimulus bill, and he's got $17 million of uncounted money in a Chinese bank, as he also has some money in Italy and some other countries that he did not disclose, and their dumb butts are going around to his rallies watching him speak when he's hiding money from them and won't pass a stimulus big thoughts.
Well, I think he said it best last night in Erie, Pennsylvania. He said, I really don't care about you damn people. I wasn't going to come here until I saw them out in the polls. Now that I'm here, you people need to get out and vote for me. But I really didn't care about it.
Yeah. Hey, we got to go to the big C bank called the Big Bank of China. The Big C bank is we got the money from. It's all fair and war. And I hope that everybody goes out and vote. And I hope you have fun watching the game tonight. Do it with the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger. You get it with exotic meats, and it's all fair in love and war. Big C, back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in this sports universe?
Well, we've reached Game 2 of the World Series tonight, Charlton. Will it be even up, or will the Dodgers take a commanding lead and hopefully coast to their first World Series in 32 years? But once again, I want to thank our frontline healthcare workers, our nurses, our doctors, our first responders. They don't coast. They go full speed every day.
They do it every day, and you can too. You guys, listen to President Obama. Listen to what it's like to have You can find class every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to C. And the boys down, as we all tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and that help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage all on their own. And as we always do on every Big C Sports show, we appreciate it, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.